أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله تعالى من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبد الله ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وأحبابه وأتباعه وعلى كل من اهتدى بهديه واستنى بسنته واختفى أثره إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. Today is Monday. What is today's date? September is 4th. What of Safar? 20th, I believe. 19th? Okay. Today is the 19th day of Safar now. It's the 19th day of Safar. It's 1445 years after the migration of the Prophet ﷺ from Mecca to Medina. And it also coincides with the 4th day of September. It's 2023. And this is lesson number 55 in the book FIQHUS SEERAH, a book by Prophet S.A.W, in which we focus and we center upon the lessons to be derived from the seerah of the beloved Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we've been taking lessons on how the message started, right from its infant stages until when the message went public. And then we saw how the disbelievers fought against the message, and we saw some of the strategies they employed in fighting against the message. Now, we saw from amongst the strategies that they used in fighting against the message. And we saw that they started first of all by remaining quiet. They were quiet, they were silent, they didn't fight against the message because it didn't touch their gods, it didn't touch very sensitive issues. And they moved on to the second stage by going to his uncle Abu Talib and then trying to see whether they can persuade his uncle Abu Talib to hand the Prophet ﷺ over to them, or at least prevents the Prophet ﷺ from embarking upon the message. And in our previous lesson, we read and then we saw that they resorted to another method, which was ridicule, insult, and then making fun of the Prophet ﷺ. And then we saw several examples of how they made fun of the Prophet ﷺ. For amongst the examples, if you remember, we saw when they were seated in the gathering in the forecourt of the Kaaba, when the Prophet ﷺ came. In fact, they were even discussing him when he came there. When he got close to them, they started making fun of him using some of the things the Prophet ﷺ has been teaching them. And he performed tawaf the first time, the second time, the third time, the Prophet ﷺ responded, and then we saw what transpired. And from amongst what they did in trying to break the resolve of the Prophet and the Messenger and the companions was that they made fun of them, so much that we saw the story of that Ar-Rashi, that man whom Abu Jahl bought a camel from him and refused payment. And we all saw what happened and how the Prophet ﷺ collected the person's right and then handed it over back to the person. Today, inshallah ta'ala, we continue reading from page number 169 under the same mabhath, under the same chapter of discussion. The author continues by saying, Waqfatun ma'al istihza. After talking about some of the examples, some of the methodologies, some of the ways the pagan Quraysh at the time used in fighting against the Prophet ﷺ, today, inshallah ta'ala, we'll be reading about Waqfatun ma'al istihza. Let's take some small lessons, some small points in regards to istihza, the ridicule, the insults, the making of fun. Are we clear? للإستهزاء أثر أشد وقعا من غيره من أنواع الإيذاء. Al-istihza, that is making fun, has a very, very strong and a very, very negative impact upon a person as compared to other forms of harm. When a person is harmed physically, the pain, the trauma is not as a person who has been harmed emotionally. Are we clear? Because a physical pain will definitely come to an end someday. After a month maximum, you are healed and then you are okay. But the emotional trauma, the emotional pain comes with ridicule and insult, has the tendency of staying with a person for the rest of their life. So the author is saying that the emotional pain, the emotional trauma is of the severest forms of punishment. يدل لذلك ما رواه البخاري. What points to this fact is what has been reported by Imam al-Bukhari and Urwa ibn Zubayr radiyallahu anhuma, from Urwa ibn Zubayr, may Allah be pleased with them, Anna Aisha radiyallahu anha, that's the wife of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, حدثت أنها قالت للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. She narrated that there was a day she said to the Prophet of Allah, she said to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, هل أتى عليك يوم كان أشد عليك من يوم أحد. Ya Rasulullah, I know you've gone through a lot. You faced a lot of adversaries. You faced a lot of pain. A lot of people insulted you. A lot of people did a lot of things to you. Ya Rasulullah, your whole life, have you ever faced a day as severe, as painful, as traumatizing as the day of Uhud? The Battle of Uhud, my respected elders in Islam, briefly, is from amongst the most severest moments in the life of the Prophet ﷺ. In that battle, he lost 70 companions. 70 Sahaba were martyred in the Battle of Uhud. Imagine people you grew up with, people who supported your message, people who helped you one way or the other, 70 of them dying on the same day. And we all know how the Prophet ﷺ relates and how he behaves and how he feels for the Ummah. Now 70 people are dying. From amongst the 70 was his uncle and brother Hamza ibn Abdul Muttalib. Hamza was the Prophet's uncle, and he was also the Prophet's brother out from breastfeeding. The same woman who breastfed Hamza was the same one who breastfed the Prophet ﷺ. So this is the second relationship the Prophet ﷺ had with Hamza. He felt the pains of losing Hamza radiallahu anhu so much that he even said, for losing one man, I'm going to chop off 70 people's heads in retaliation for losing Hamza, because Hamza is an entire army on his own. But Allah Azza wa Jalla revealed verse of the Quran telling him, no, one soul to another. You don't go beyond the limit, you don't transgress when a person does harm to you. So this tells the Prophet ﷺ felt very, very bad about losing Hamza. Was that the only pain he faced in the Battle of Badr, in the Battle of Uhud? No. He himself ﷺ was abused, he was hurt. So much that he spilled his own blood. His tooth was broken, 4 of them in the Battle of Uhud. His head was broken. A piece of his armor got stuck in his head, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So much that one of the companions who tried to pull it out, did everything possible to pull it out but wasn't successful, ended up using his teeth to pull it out, and then his teeth got broken. This is just a tip of the iceberg when it comes to what happened in the Battle of Uhud. All this was as a result of disobeying the Prophet's command. One single command, a group of Sahaba, and the commander-in-chief of the battle was Rasulullah, yet Allah punished them and then drew their attention to going against the Prophet ﷺ. Now let's ask ourselves as an ummah, as a nation, as a Muslim generation, as a people growing up. The main reason why we are always behind, we are always lacking, we are always suffering, is because of our constant disobedience to the message of Allah Azza wa Jalla and the teaching of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. May Allah safeguard us. So this is Aisha narrating or asking the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this is what I saw, this is what I heard, this is what I experienced with you in regards to the Battle of Uhud. Have you ever faced any similar situation or any difficult situation than the Battle of Uhud? I hope this question is a very legit one. It's a question that makes sense. Qala. The Prophet ﷺ responded and answered Aisha and said, Laqitu min qawmiki ma laqitu. Aisha, from your people, the Quraysh, I've faced a lot of things. I've seen things, I've heard things. They've done things. A lot has happened between myself and them. وَكَانَ أَشَدُّ مَا لَقِيتُ مِنْهُمْ يَوْمَ الْعَقَبَةِ. But the most severest of what I've faced, the most difficult incident is the day of Aqaba. Is aradtu nafsi ala ibn Abdi Yalil ibn Abdi Kilal. When I presented myself to this man, Ibn Abdi Yalil ibn Abdi Kilal, he presented himself to this man, explained Islam to this man and his people, tried to call his mind and the minds of his people to Al-Islam and for them to understand the message. فَلَمْ يُجِبْنِي إِلَى مَا أَرَدْتُ. Then the people with their leader did not respond to the Prophet ﷺ positively. The response wasn't a positive one. And let's not forget, during the time that Prophet ﷺ went to this place, that is Ta'if to be precise, where he went to call them to Al-Islam, was after he had lost his beloved wife Khadija radiallahu anha. So the pain of losing his wife was still there. He had also lost his uncle Abu Talib, who stood by him, who supported him. Two powerful pillars standing for the Prophet ﷺ had been broken. So the pain was there. So he decided to resort to Ta'if to see whether he can get reinforcement support from there. Either psychological support, emotional support, physical support, whatever kind of support he needed. So when he went there, the people did not respond to the Prophet ﷺ in a positive manner. In fact, they gathered the fools and the kids of the place to throw stones at him ﷺ. And blood was oozing, was gushing forth from his beloved and his holy body ﷺ, until it got to his sandals, his footwear. And inshallah, when we get to that incident, we'll talk in details, inshallah. So this was what the Prophet ﷺ was faced. فَانْطَلَقْتُ وَأَنَا مَهْمُومٌ عَلَى وَجْهِي. The Prophet ﷺ says, he walked away, he left the people of Ta'if, walking, filled with grief, filled with worry, filled with sadness. فَلَمْ أَسْتَفِقْ إِلَّا وَأَنَا بِالْقَرْنِ ثَعَالِبٍ. He said he did not come to his senses until he saw himself at a place called Qarn Tha'alib. And Qarn Tha'alib, from where he is around 80 or so kilometers. Almost 90 kilometers. Now imagine walking, thinking, mind roaming around, on foot, with the pain, with blood oozing, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, from his body. He walked for 80 plus kilometers before he realized, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he was. And this tells you he did a lot of thinking and contemplation whilst walking that path after what had happened. فَرَفَعْتُ رَأْسِي. When he regained consciousness, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, I raised my head up. فَإِذَا أَنَا بِسَحَابَةٍ قَدْ أَظَلَّتْنِي. But sallallahu alaihi wasallam realized and then saw a cloud covering him and then providing. Looked closely again, says Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, فَإِذَا فِيهَا جِبْرِيلُ فَنَادَانِي. When he looked up in the skies, in the clouds, he saw the angel Jibril alayhi salam. Then Jibril called upon him and said, Inna Allah's duty is taking care of the mountains. لِتَأْمُرَهُ بِمَا شِئْتَ فِيهِمْ. For you to command and order that angel with whatever you'd want in regards to the people. They've stoned you, insulted you, threw you out, did this, did that, did this, did that. You took a lot of time, 80 plus kilometers to think and reflect. Now you finished thinking. This is the angel in charge of the mountains. Allah has sent him with me so that you give the order, you give the command. What do you want Allah to do with them? Al-Hadith, the Prophet stopped here and then said, continue reading the Hadith from the book of Imam al-Bukhari. But let's ask the question, what was the Prophet's response? Now imagine, imagine a young man, a young da'iyah, a young scholar teaching people Islam. He goes to a place and then he wasn't even stoned. They only said, Master, you are telling lies, just get out. They didn't fight him. They only said, it's a lie. And the moment he walked out of the mosque, or he walked out of the gathering, the president of the state said to him, I have placed in your care, or I have placed in your control, the defense minister. You know, the defense minister controls what? The army, right? They deploy the army and then they give whatever command you want to give. Now, the president has placed a beautiful phone call to this young sheikh and said to him, I have placed in your care, I have placed in your control the defense ministry, the army. Command them as you please. I believe the next few commands, in the next few hours, that mosque will be leveled. That mosque will be leveled. And that is what you and I might do. Possibly that's what we would do, not even might. Allah safeguard us. But this is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said to the angel, he said to Jibril alayhi salam, you know, let them be. Now, this is amongst the earliest days. Amongst the earliest days. Okay, the earliest days of Islam. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Ya Allah, let them be. Maybe from amongst their kids and grandkids, there will be people who would believe in the oneness of Allah and become Muslim. He looked at what? The bigger picture. Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Now, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, as said by Aisha, in this authentic hadith, states that the most severest of what he had faced, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, was what? That incident at Taif. And what happened? قال العلماء, the scholars are saying, جعل صلى الله عليه وسلم ما ناله من الاستهزاء أو شماتة الأعداء أشد مما لاقاه يوم أحد من قتل حمزة. Okay. He says, جعل صلى الله عليه وسلم, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he took the istihza, the fun, washamata. You know, when you say shamata al-a'da, an enemy to laugh over your downfall or your predicament that comes your way, that is called shamata. Maybe a person is sick, may Allah safeguard us, and then their enemies come and then they find them lying down sick and then they start laughing. Now that's called shamata. So they laugh at everything that happens to the Prophet when it's negative, when it's bad. So they made fun of him and then they were excited when something bad also comes his way. Al-Ada. So Prophet classified that as ashad mimma laqahu. It should be something that is more severe to him. He saw that as something more severe to him than Yawm Uhud, than what he saw on the day of Uhud, min qatl Hamza. In regards to the assassination or the martyrdom of Hamza alayhi salam, his uncle. وَسَبْعِينَ مِنْ أَصْحَابِهِ, and 70 of his companions. مَعَ مَا نَالَهُ فِي نَفْسِهِ مِنَ الْجَرَاحَةِ, on top of he himself being hit. وَمَا ذَاكَ إلا لأن النفس الكريم تتأذى بالأذى بالقول والسب أشد مما تتأذى به من الطعن والضرب. Because an honorable soul, a dignified person, an honorable person feels intense pains from verbal abuse than physical abuse. An honorable person, a dignified person. When you harm them physically, yes, the pain will be there, but that pain is not lasting. As opposed to an honorable person, insulted, vilified, his name being dragged in the mud, blackmailed, and all that. That pain, that trauma is more severe than physical pains. And especially from people who are way lesser than you. If a person from a high class, you know, a big person insults or vilifies, well, he is big. But a low life insulting you and calling you a criminal and he is the thief. Someone call you a liar and he is the greatest of lies. Allah safeguard us. ولهذا عفى صلى الله عليه وسلم عن كل من تعرض لقتله وأهدر دم كل من تعرض لشتمه. So Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that is why when you read from the seerah, which would get to inshallah ta'ala, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam forgave all the people who attempted to assassinate him. He forgave them. All those who tried to kill him, he forgave them. Since he's safe, what is the harm now? Salaam alaikum. Just go, forgive them. But وَأَهْدَرَ دَمَ كُلَّ مَنْ تَعَرَّضَ لِشَتْمِهِ. But any person who dared insult him and then touch his dignity and his personality, the Prophet ﷺ gave the command that those people should be killed. Why? Because he has a very dignified, a pure soul. So every little thing has a great impact on his beloved and then his dignified and then his honorable soul, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. That is why he even said about one kafir that kill him even when you see him كان متعلقا بأسال الكعبة. Abdullah ibn Abi Sart, right? This man, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, even when you see him holding and clinging onto the covering of the Kaaba, top of his head. Why? Because لَقَدْ أَهَذَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ. The man has harmed Allah and His Messenger, has insulted and said things he wasn't supposed to have said. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to safeguard us. نقل الدكتور أحد نوفل في كتابه There's a professor by name Dr. Ahad Naufal. He reports in his book, the book is titled Al-Harb al-Nafsiyya min Manzur al-Islami. Al-Harb al-Nafsiyya min Manzur al-Islami. Psychological or emotional warfare from the Islamic perspective. It talks about the emotional and the psychological attacks on people. Well, this time you are looking at it from the Islamic perspective. That is the book. He made mention of Anna Washington Arfana Kala is a name of a person. Washington Arfana. I've tried to get the English name of this Arfana, but I wasn't successful. But the name is Washington. So this man, Washington, whatever, or a woman, Allah Alam, Kala, okay, Kala is a man, says, كانت أعظم صعوبة واجه محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم هي استهزاء معارضيه. The greatest difficulty the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم faced was the ridicule, the insults, the making fun that his enemies and his opposers did against him. That was his greatest difficulty. Not the physical ones, not the beating, not the persecution, not the hijrah, no. All those things were just nothing. But the severest were what? The insults, the ridicule, the making of fun. Ila Ankala, until the professor, this Washington, said, وَلَمْ يَكُنْ يَهْتَمُّ بِمَعْرِفَةِ مَنْ هُمْ مَصْدَرِ هَذَا الْإِذَا. The Prophet ﷺ didn't concern or worry himself by trying to know who were the main reasons behind or who caused the ridicule. What is the source? Who said it? Who started it? He didn't care about that. بل اهتم بأمر الذين يأمل في اعتناقهم للإسلام. He didn't concentrate upon the pain, upon who insulted him. No. His main focus, his main target, his main concentration was upon people that he had high hopes that they would accept the message and become Muslims. He didn't concentrate on those who insulted him. So this tells me, my respected others in Islam, that certain things might happen, certain things might come into your life. Don't waste your time upon the irrelevant ones. Concentrate upon your mission and spear ahead, gear ahead, and go on with your message. Don't worry yourself with what this person has said, what that has said, what is this doing, what is happening, who said that, who is the one roaming around, spoiling my name, tarnishing my image. Don't waste your time. Concentrate on more important things. Are we clear? More so, those people themselves, subhanAllah, they knew who the Prophet ﷺ was. And he knew them. He could simply ask, who is the brains behind this ridicule, this insult? He could ask. But he concentrated more upon his message, calling people to Al-Islam. And we see that clearly, and I've cited this example several times in this our lesson, that an example is the case of Ibrahim alayhi salam. When Ibrahim encountered Namrud, Namrud wanted to debate and then, have issues with Ibrahim alayhi salam. Ibrahim said, Rabbi alladhi yuhyi wa yumit. It is my Lord who gives life, and it's my Lord who takes life, right? This foolish man also says, Ana uhyi wa umit. I also give life, I also take life. He called two people, already sentenced to death, killed one of them, and set the other free and said, Ana uhyi wa umit. I've given this guy life, I've taken this guy's life away from him. Now, Ibrahim could have said, no, this is not what I mean. It doesn't make sense. What are you trying to tell me, right? He could have said that. But okay, you've made your point, and it's a foolish one, but let's leave it. Let me give you another point and see whether you can counter it. فقال إبراهيم إن الله يأتي بالشمس من المشرق فأتي بها من المغرب. My Lord lets the sun rises from the east and it sets in the west. Do the same. Tomorrow, let it rise from the west and set in the east. Sadaqallahu al-azim. فَبُهِتَ الَّذِي كَفَرَ. He was just thrown under the bus. Finish. He did that. The same with Musa alayhi salam. I've been citing these examples, and then if you remember clearly, Musa alayhi salam faced Fir'aun. Fir'aun looked at him. أَلَمْ نُرَبِّكَ فِينَا وَلِيدًا وَلَبِثْتَ فِينَا مِنْ عُمْرِكَ سِنِينَ. Are you not that small boy we took care of? He's telling you Allah is one. Worship Allah. Stop oppressing people. Stop doing this, stop doing this, stop doing that. But Fir'aun didn't counter that. أَلَمْ نُرَبِّكَ فِينَا وَلِيدًا وَلَبِثْتَ فِينَا مِنْ عُمْرِكَ سِنِينَ وَفَعَلْتَ فَعَلَتَكَ الَّتِي فَعَلْتَ. Why not the one who committed murder and they ran away? He was bringing all those things. Musa alayhi salam only concentrated on telling him what Allah has sent him with. He didn't care with all those things. So an-nafsul karima, an honorable soul, does not dwell upon the whisperings of people. Oh, he has said that. Spear ahead, push forward with your mission, and go ahead with it, inshallah ta'ala. وَإِنْ كَانَ الْإِسْتِهْزَاءُ شَدِيدًا عَلَى النَّفْسِ. The author went on to say, even though ridicule, making fun, is very, very severe upon a person, it touches a person. You know, it hits you very, very hard in the core. فَإِنَّهُ لَا شَكَّ أَشَدَّ وَقْعًا وَأَعْظَمْ تَأْثِيرًا عَلَى الرَّجُلِ الشَّرِيفِ. Even though on a normal day, making fun is very, very painful, but it is more painful, it hurts more when it happens that the person being made fun of is an honorable person. He doesn't steal, he doesn't drink, he's not a thief, he's not a criminal. And all of a sudden, people are making fun of him like that. الَّذِي لَهُ الْمَكَانَةَ الرَّفِيعَةِ. The person has a very, very high and a very, very lofty position. فِي الْخُلُقِ وَالْعَقْلِ وَالْأَمَانَةِ وَالصِّدْقِ. In terms of his conduct and character, in terms of his mind and understanding, in terms of his amana, his trustworthiness, wasidq, and then truthfulness. This is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And wallahi, the people knew him. They knew him so well. In the sight of Allah, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is better than everyone else. And Allah even made it clear to them. They saw it, that this man is better than us. And they knew it, and then they already testified to the fact. If you remember, when the Kaaba broke down, in our earliest lessons, there was a time rain, flood caused the Kaaba to collapse, right? And they needed to rebuild the Kaaba. They built up until when they got to where to place the Hajar al-Aswad. You remember? To place the Hajar al-Aswad, they disputed amongst themselves. Who is going to fix it there? Who is going to do that? Who is going to do this? They fought against themselves, amongst themselves. So much that they nearly started drawing swords. They agreed that the first person to walk through this door would be our judge. Who walked through that door? Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When they saw him, Radina bil Amin. This guy is the truthful person. Sadiq al Amin. So number one, they knew. Number two, they saw Allah has favored him over them when he lifted the Hajar al-Aswad alone by himself and placed it upon his scarf. And he told them, okay, all of you, the chieftains, the big guys, come around, hold it, lift it up. When it was lifted, he raised it with his blessed hand, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and fixed it there. They saw that this guy is no small guy. Upon all this, they knew, but they were the ones calling him Sha'ir. He's a poet. Sahir, he's a magician, he's a sorcerer. Majnoon, he is mad. Kadhab, he's a liar. After testifying a couple of minutes ago, Radina bil Amin. This person is trustworthy, this person is truthful. Just imagine, yani, the people just call him, mashallah, he's our Imam, Allahu Akbar. And then you say something that the people do not want to hear. Oh, he's a liar. A couple of minutes ago, wallahi, he knows hadith more than everyone. But the next minute, he's a liar. How would that feel, yani? Imagine the pain. It hurts. So this is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, superior in his conduct and behavior. وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. Al-Aql, in terms of his intellect and mindset, he's better than everyone. In terms of his amana and truthfulness. So much that we all know the night of Hijrah, the night of migration, when he was leaving, the people, even though, subhanallah, yani, this point is very, very interesting. Upon all these things, fighting him and then insulting him and then saying things against him, they still had their monies and their properties with him. Do you understand? They had their monies. They trusted that he would keep the money safe. But they meet him the following morning and they make fun of him. They see him and then they make fun of him. But their monies, they knew that our monies would definitely be safe with him. So much that on the night of Hijrah, when he was leaving, he assigned his cousin Ali ibn Abi Talib to stay in his bed so that the following morning he hands over the people's trust back to them. If it were to be you and I, we've already gotten transport fare. You remember, okay, Abu Jahl has 15 pieces of gold coins with me. At the time, Abu Sufyan had, let's say, 100, okay? Utbah bin Rabi'ah has this, okay? That mujrim in that neighborhood also has something with me. They've insulted me, beaten my companions. Well, now they are driving me out of my own town, my own place. Well, let me just reduce. Their monies were still there with him. This is sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because all these things happened before Hijrah, right? And Hijrah, when he was living, he left Ali ibn Abi Talib. So even upon all this, they were comfortable leaving their monies in the hands of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it pains a lot. Imagine there's a saying in the Arabic language, "Sammin kalbaka ya'kuluk." It basically means give food to your dog. Your dog now becomes fat and big. The dog will eventually what? Chew you up one day, eat you, and then finish you one day. The Prophet ﷺ was taking care of their monies, and they were the ones harming him. Their economic power, their economy was in his hands. With just one word, their economy will crash. But he still remained what? Al-Amin, trustworthy. So when they insult him, the pain is more intense. This is the people I'm keeping the monies for you. I'm making sure your amana is safe. And you are telling me all this. Now just imagine this scenario. Wallahi, wallahi al-mathalul a'la. To Allah belongs the best forms of example. It is only Allah who can really explain this for you to really understand and grasp the pain the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is feeling. Yani. I'm only trying to at least bring the picture close for you to really understand. ليس من السهل عليه أن يجد نفسه في موقف يسخر منه. It wasn't easy for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to find himself in this position where people were making fun of him. وَيُسْتَهْزَأُ بِهِ, and then they were insulting him, making fun of him, ridiculing him. وَيُوصَفْ بِالسِّحْرِ وَالْجُنُونِ وَالْكَذِبِ, and they are here describing him as a magician, as a madman, as a liar. It wasn't easy for him sallallahu alaihi wasallam. ولكن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم هان عليه ذلك في سبيل الله. But the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, all these things, he took them as nothing. Why? Because he endured it for the sake of Allah. He's walking the path of Allah, doing what Allah has commanded. So anything that comes upon that path, it's easy for the person. It's easy for him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He doesn't feel the pain. I know people who are sick, but when it's time for Allah's work, it's as if they are very, very healthy. People are insulted, and people look down upon them. Since he's doing Allah's work, I don't care what people say. Yes, move ahead, move forward, and continue. My sister, you're always in the hijab, mashallah. People would say certain things. Are you not feeling hot? Under this hot weather, you are in this hijab like that. My sister, let all those things be easy for you. Let it be easy for you, because the pleasure, the joy of meeting Allah Azza wa Jalla is more than the pain of the insults. Always think about that. The joy of meeting Allah Azza wa Jalla. The joy, that happiness of meeting Allah and Allah is pleased with you. Telling you, Udkhuli fi ibadi, Udkhuli jannati. Allah is telling you, Udkhuli fi ibadi. Enter my Jannah, enter from amongst the ranks of my slaves. That alone is enough to make you forget all the pains of the dunya. Allah safeguard us. So the Prophet ﷺ, all these things that he faced, because he was in the path of Allah Azza wa Jalla, he saw them as easy things, as nothing. رغم ما فيه من القسوة والشدة عليه. Even though he felt the pains intensively. But since it is for the sake of Allah, then khalas, everything goes. وإذا عرفنا ألم الاستهزاء. If we know the pain, now we already know the pain of being made fun of, right? Now knowing the pain of being made fun of, ومضاعفة هذا الألم عندما يكون موجها إلى شخص ذي مكانة. And the pain doubles and multiplies when the insult and the ridicule is being geared towards a person of a very, very lofty position. Imagine from amongst the ministers of the state, there is one who is not a thief. He is not a criminal. He hasn't also stolen the people's wealth, the people's monies. But he's walking down the street and then people start making fun of him. Oh, thief, you've stolen our monies. Oh, look at his big head. Something like that. Imagine the pain. I haven't stolen the money and people are doing this. That is why sometimes you see some of our big men have guards around them. It is not only to protect them physically, but sometimes to protect them from verbal abuse that might come from journalists and the ordinary people. Sometimes a journalist might stop a person and then just, their microphones just want to ask questions, and their question is sometimes a very, very painful one. So basically, you see those guards even pushing them away. Don't even ask that question. Don't even say those things that might harm this person. So insults and ridicule and making fun of people is very, very bad. It's very, very painful. But imagine now how the pain will double when that insult is concentrated upon a noble person. عرفنا مدى ما يعانيه الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم من قومه وهم يستهزئون ويسخرون. Now we understand the pain the Prophet ﷺ faces, the pain he feels when his own people, made fun of him, and then they insulted and then they made ridicule of him ﷺ. بخلاف الشخص الوضيع, as opposed to a low life. A person who is already a drunkard, he's a criminal, he's a thief, he's a womanizer, may Allah safeguard us. If people start making fun of him, oh, this guy is a thief and he's already a thief. Where lies the pain, Yani? He's a criminal already and the people call him a criminal. It's like, okay, well, it's among his names, all right. So he's talking about it. بخلاف الشخص الوضيع فإنه قد لا يعاني من الاستهزاء. Maybe that low life might not feel the pain of the insult and then the ridicule. He might not feel it. Why? Because that is his character. بل قد يفضله على الإيذاء البدني. In fact, that person can opt for insults and ridicule and then run away from one that can harm him physically. There are people who will be like, Wallahi, it is best they beat me than to insult me. Yeah, he is okay with that. So he opens his mouth and they say, you just beat me, let me be free, let me just go. And sometimes you hear people say, I nearly put myself to shame. And he did things, very, very disastrous things, Yani. But he says, I was nearly put to shame. And wallah, subhanallah, Yani, there's something that is trending on social media, and then I really hate discussing things like that. But something is happening in our Zongo communities. I don't really want to pinpoint the situation, but people came out bad-mouthing a particular woman and a man because of some marital issues. And wallahi, if the person has an honorable soul, wallahi, that bad mouthing is enough to make a person commit suicide. It is so much. But the woman, the man, and other people, their supporters, they are the ones going around trying to justify what they've done. A married man and another married woman. The woman has the husband, the wife, this man is also married to another woman. They are committing adultery and then placing it on the social media outlets, publicly portraying it and then feeling proud about it. Now, this person, when you insult the person, what? Nothing has been done to this person. And nothing. This person would be okay when you beat them. No, they will be okay you insult them rather than touching them physically. And this tells you the kind of life people are living. May Allah Azza wa Jalla safeguard us. ولا يجد غضاضة أن تقال له كلمة لمز أو غمز أو سخرية. The person would not feel anything. Their skin will not itch. When someone insults them, when someone vilifies them, when someone makes ridiculous at them, it just takes it as well. It's just cream or just pomade or water that has just run down their bodies, and then the person is okay. لأن قائلها لم يبعد عن الحقيقة. The main reason why these low lives will not feel bad is because the person who has insulted them hasn't deviated a lot from the truth. The person is already a criminal and a thief. So if you say the person is a thief, well, you've already spoken the truth, so the person will not feel bad. He knows that is what he does. Even wallahi, even when the person does that sin in secret, and mind you, even if they do it in secret and no one knows about it, and then you start bad mouthing them, they would only shout woo for a minute or two just to protect their so-called reputation. But deep down, he will not feel any pain. Deep down, they won't feel any pain. If a person steals from the public purse, he's a thief, he's an underground thief, and no one knows, but we all believe that, oh, this guy is good, this guy is honorable. And someone starts hammering that this guy is a thief, this guy is a criminal. Do you think he would feel pains? Wallah, he won't feel the pain. Because he knows that is what he's doing. Why? Because the person who has spoken hasn't deviated, hasn't gone far away from the truth. Or at the minimum, فإن المستهزأ به لم يجحد نفسه في البعد عن مواطن الضعف والنقص. Even if this person being ridiculed, the person being insulted, even if he does not do that thing, but he has not distanced himself from where that evil is being done. For example, he is not a drunkard. He doesn't drink. May Allah safeguard us. But he always sits at the drinking bars with friends who are drunkards. He is not a womanizer, but he always hangs around with friends who are womanizers. He is not a thief, but all his friends are thieves, internet frauds. Yeah, that internet frauding is not a side hustle. It's stealing. You are a thief. People are trying to sugarcoat it. Oh, it's a side hustle. It is not a side hustle. It is theft. That Game Boy is a thief. That is the word. That is the name. You hang around with them, but you don't do it. So the day you are also called a thief, you won't feel bad because you hang around with thieves. You'd feel bad. If you don't want to be called that, you should have distanced yourself from those people. So this tells you that the Prophet ﷺ felt very, very bad in regards to how the people spoke against him ﷺ, and this was how they saw him. They still saw him as honorable. They still saw him as important, as dignified. Yet they made fun of him ﷺ. And we saw the examples of what Abu Jahl did. What Jamil, the wife of Abu Lahab. Your shaitan, your devil has left you now. And certain things that they said. For time's sake, we'll conclude here. And in our next lessons, we will take waqfatu ma'al mustahzi'in. Lessons upon those, lessons to take in regards to those who were making fun. Now we talked about making fun on itself, right? Now, those who made fun, how did the Prophet ﷺ relate with them? What was his response? And what lessons can we also take and then put it in our everyday lives? So in summary, these lessons that we see, that we hear, you should know that insults, ridicule, have a very, very painful effect on a person who is dignified. But what should you do? Try to weather the storm. Soak the pain, endure it. Don't waste your time on those people. Continue what you are doing so far as you know it is good. Walk ahead and then forget about everything. La yadurru sahab nabhul kilab. The clouds are never harmed or affected by the barking of the dog. I believe a musician has already said something similar to that. It is only a foolish dog that barks at a flying bird. It's only a foolish dog that sees a flying bird and then they bark at the bird. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Ow. Ow. Mobo, dear Mobo. Mobo. What happens? So if you know that you are an honorable person, that is the qaida. If you know you are honorable, you are dignified, don't waste your time in responding to people. Don't. They would waste your time. Someone has always been saying, and I took this from my mother, even though I know she's not the original owner of that statement, but I learned this from her. Never argue with a fool. With a fool, never argue with a fool. Why? Because the fool will drag you the entire lesson on rebattling. Nah, you've wasted the students' time, you've wasted your own time. Now imagine someone has said something against me, and even when you say it to me, I don't even have the ears to hear me. I don't know what you said. I'm always with my earpiece, so I've not heard it. And I pray no one even conveys anything negative that this person has said this or done that. If I should waste my time, instead of teaching, instead of reading from the book, And then we spend today's lesson giving the person a rebuttal. The person also throw another rebuttal, right? Now our lessons in Seerah, our lessons in Akhtar Musallin has been placed on the side. We concentrate on raddi, and then the people are there and then they are losing a lot of benefits, a lot of lessons. May Allah Azza wa Jalla safeguard us. So we'll conclude here and then we continue in our next lesson. Wherever we've heard and made mistakes, we pray Allah forgives us. Wherever we've said right, we pray Allah places in the scales of our deeds. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.